Welcome to Goldfields Leaders. This is Roger McDonald. Why do people use drugs? Do you have a drug problem at your workplace? A lot of your employees using drugs, getting caught, tested for drugs, and over they've been caught. Obviously, they probably get fired or performance managed. Why are people using drugs? A chief reason why people use drugs is because of stress. Why people take drugs is to shut down the survival centers of their brain. That's the effect. Have you ever been really drunk, had a few too many? It's a wonderful feeling. When you're kind of a bit drunk, you've had a few wines or a few whatever you drink, and you just feel a complete peace with the world. You feel a neutrality. You feel a kind of bubbling up of unconditional love for your surroundings. For some people, they drink too much and they go primal. But for most people, who can be a happy drunk, they feel good about. They feel that oneness. So what happens is when you ingest some kind of mind-altering substance, whether it be heroin or cocaine or meth or alcohol or even lots of amount of food, lots of sugar, for a brief period of varying amounts of time, depending on the drug you're taking, you kind of feel that oneness with everything around you. Your survival centers briefly shut down. That fight, flight, and freeze impulse briefly is numbed, and what happens is there's kind of a bubbling up of a sense of peace within you, a sense of joy, a sense of thankfulness, and it's a wonderful feeling. But why are your employees, co-workers using drugs? And if you're a leader and you're listening to this, or you aspire to be a great leader, why is your organization rife with drugs? Why are you firing people because they're testing positive? It's because of stress. There's too much stress going on in the environment, and yes, okay, workplaces are meant to be stressful. You could argue that. But as a leader, your responsibility or your focus can be is how can I maintain or increase productivity whilst decreasing the stress levels where I can. And you can, as a focus, you can look at how can I decrease interpersonal relationship stress? Can I create a series of values that the organization and teach these employees and the managers beneath me about these values that can empower people and make people feel more relaxed and more productive? Because you're strongest when you're relaxed. When you get all tense, you become weak. When you're stressed, your immune system goes down because your body's on fight, flight, freeze, survival mode. People get sick more often. People use up their sick leave. You're down on employees. It ends up costing you more in the long run by having too much stress. So how can you minimize or even eliminate stress in your workplace? And there's varying degrees of workplaces. Look at Google. They create an environment where they get the best out of the people. They hire the best people in the field. They create an environment which is conducive to relaxation, communication, rapport, connection, and that enables them to get the best out of their employees. Imagine if Google was just a warehouse with lots of these little cubicles where people barely talk to each other. They talk to each other by email, and they had a taskmaster. They had a manager overseeing them, yelling at them. And the way that employees could survive in that environment was through, it was like a prison environment, like snitching and gossiping and being negative and undermining their leadership and reporting on each other. It would be an extremely stressful environment. There's no way you can imagine Google share price being what it is. If you can obviously see what the environment is at Google. They make it a priority to de-stress everybody. They have activities, everything, the external, internal environment. They have sleep cubicles for their staff, for goodness sake, for them to have naps, because they know it brings out the best, and they can make a lot of money in that. How can you? I'm not saying go to the extreme like Google, or maybe you could. You might not be in a position to do that. Maybe you're in the mining industry. Maybe you're in politics. Maybe. How can you de-stress your team? Team buildings, regular sharings. As a leader, you could even praise people a bit more, encourage them. Your inner state is known and transmitted as a leader. This is something that's going to be in another video, but your inner state as a leader is transmitted. So if you've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stress within you, people around you pick up on it. If you're feeling uncertain and doubting and afraid as a leader, you've got problems in your relationship, problems in your personal life, your employees are going to pick up on it. Your customers are going to pick up on it. Your clients are going to pick up on it. People can pick up on your inner state. It's just how we operate. Human beings, when they go into a new environment, they develop rapport with our environment. We have, and you know this as a leader, as an individual, you can know when something's wrong with your spouse. You can kind of sense they may be saying all the right things, but you can pick up on it. You may see a person who's saying all the right things, but deep down they're thinking quite negative thoughts towards you. And you can pick that up. So as a leader, how you operate affects your organization massively. The decisions you make about de-stressing your team, you're making your environment and workplace more as family friendly as possible and more conducive to people feeling empowered and relaxed, is going to make a big difference in the amount of sick leave people take, the amount of people getting fired for overdosing on drugs. Because if people are taking drugs, there's obviously something going on at your workplace. It's too stressful. You're not listening to people's needs. Or people have problems at home and maybe you need to provide counselling. And you know, wise leaders do this. Wise organisations do this. They are doing it. And they prosper long term. Poor organisations, poor leadership ignores this, runs their organisation like a prison, runs it like a penal colony, creates an environment and culture of fear. And those organizations don't last. They're an old paradigm which has passed away. This is Goldfield Leaders. Why do people take drugs? Have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening.